Hi again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the UNSECURITY Podcast. This is episode 104. The date is November 3rd, 2020, and I'm Evan Francine, your host. Joining me is my good friend and coworker, Brad Nye. Good morning, Brad.
Good. Well, it's morning.
It's morning.
I don't know. Good.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I guess good is relative.
No, good morning, Evan.
And we'll navigate, right? We navigate good mornings and bad mornings, every mornings.
It's not a bad morning. I'm just tired.
Like how old are you? How old are you?
43.
All right. So you've navigated 43 years of good, bad, in the middle mornings. Yep. It's just one of those, maybe.
That's in the middle. It's not a bad. It's not good. It's a morning.
We'll see if we can make it better. Also joining us is a good friend, Richie Breathe. Good morning, Richie.
Good morning, Evan. Good morning, Brad. Hello.
He's got a good radio voice.
Yeah.
All right. First things first, today is election day. It's November 3rd. Allegedly, we've got all day today to vote if we haven't already. Have you guys voted?
Yep.
Yesterday.
I confirm mine was accepted October 16th. I'm all over it.
All right. And you voted for who I told you to vote for, right?
I don't pay attention to what you say. I have no idea.
Yep. Par for the course. No, but it's crazy how many people are out there who tell you who to vote for. And it's like, man, I can do my research. I mean, I understand some people don't research, but I don't even tell my own wife who to vote for.
No.
Right? She knows who to vote for.
I'm just going to be glad when it's over because Saturday I got 5 or 6 texts and 3 or 4 phone calls. And Sunday I got the same number just from both political parties. I'm like, oh, enough. You're not changing my mind. I voted 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go away. Well, and some people, like a friend of mine, Roger Grimes, tweeted to me, well, you can just say, what do you text back when you get one of those texts? Stop. And they'll stop texting. I'm like, well, yeah, but I think it's more fun to sort of play with them. I played with one of them this weekend. They texted me and I was like, tell me more. And then they go into this long text and I'm like, okay, take me off your list. and then the gracious response back was pretty awesome. Just a good person on the other end of the text. So it was fun, lighthearted. All right. Well, happy anniversary to us, Brad. This is episode 104. It means 104 weeks in a row. I know. 104 weeks in a row. We haven't missed a single week. 2 years. I can't believe it. It seems like yesterday we did our first episode together.
The difference in episode 1 to episode 104 is just mind-blowing.
Well, and you think back to all the people that we've talked to, all the memories you and I have shared. I mean, it's 104, and every show is about an hour long. That's 104 hours that we've spent, hanging out. That's cool. Well, I really appreciate. I mean, my favorite. I'm going to ask you, and I'll ask Richie too. But what my favorite part of the podcast was what we originally set out to do, and that was to spend an hour, a week with you. That's been my favorite part by far. And then my favorite episode, when I look back, there were so many just fun moments. I don't know, the day, maybe the episode where we had our wives on was really cool.
That was where I immediately went, was that one.
Yeah. And I remember like the one I did from Bulgaria when you and Ryan were online. That one was weird. Yeah, there's just a lot of really good episodes. Do you have a favorite?
Probably the wives. It was just because it just was who we are, right? It just shows this is who we are, and there's no hiding it.
Right. We're just
I mean,
security guys. We got families.
yeah, I'm with you though. There's just so many good ones. Just
Yeah.
different interviews and conversations with you, and yeah, I think the wives would probably be my favorite.
Now, Richie, you've been listening for a while, and we actually met through the podcast, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm probably like 80 episodes deep. I caught the train early when guys were going and still talking about every barbecue joint you stopped at, which I thought was super awesome. But is the daily insanities that you unlocked, and you said you wanted a virtual water cooler, kind of a space to chat. I was like, wait a minute, that sounds like my kind of weird. I'll check it out.
Right? Yeah. So you're one of us, man. And so, what a favorite? Have you had a favorite? Was it the barbecue ones?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and it's like I don't really know if there's like a favorite specific moment or episode. I just remember it's kind of weird. I became vegan like 10 years ago, so I haven't really thought about barbecue food in a long time. But just the way you talk about it is so just like here's my outline, like mystery shopper. I'm gonna tell you all the things about the barbecue joint and what it was, if it was too dry or too wet. And like by the end of it, I was like, man, I kind of want to go have some ribs right now. Like it was just very engaging.
Yeah, I'm wearing a hat now. Martin's Barbecue out of
Nice. Where's
Nashville.
that at? Nashville, Tennessee. Dang.
Yep. So as a vegan, that means you don't get to have bacon.
This is true. I didn't do it for ethical reasons. I did it kind of by accident. I'm a backstage theater kid by nature, and teaching myself the soundboard and the lighting board before these were computerized meant that I was hanging out with old analog and tape machines in a control booth for a while. And those get very warm, and there wasn't really refrigeration or any way to keep the food I was going to eat cold. So slowly I phased out animal products and built up a plant protein diet and realized that, well, my body just doesn't really accept these things anymore. So you can't fake bacon. It's not worth trying to fake. So I can have bacon, but I'll get sick later. So I just tend to not eat it.
I don't know, man. I don't know what life would be like without bacon. It hurts to think about it for me. I mean, I respect who don't eat bacon, but oh my God, what would I do? I'd be like life without air. It seems.
Man, it sounds like you found like a radioactive carrot or a really awesome motivator. That means whatever behaviors you want to do, you can just put bacon at the end and you'll have the motivation to do it, right?
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. I bought three pounds of bacon. It's funny. I bought 3 pounds of bacon. I don't know, Sunday, and I was putting it in the fridge, and she's like, "You can eat that in a day." I'm like, "I know, nothing to be proud of."
I still have like 9 pounds of that thick cut straight from the processor bacon. Oh, so good.
What are you waiting for?
I gotta ration it. I can't eat it all at once. I've already had like 3 pounds of it.
Do you want me to show you how?
No, I want it.
All right. Well, let me know if you change your mind.
I'll be having some this week.
All right. So before we jump into Richie and kind of the stuff I want to talk about there, crazy week, man. We've been working on incident responses all week. I think next episode, I'd like to talk about what not to do in an incident response. We see that a lot.
Incident responder. Sorry. Not that I'm
don't do that.
frustrated.
Well, and the incident that okay.
We stay on task.
Well, right. Well, and real quick, what was it Friday week ago, 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning, I get a call. Hey, sorry, to call your cell phone, but we've got this ransomware attack and everything. And I'm like, and I did, I'm sleeping. We're not a 3-4 employee company anymore. It time to sleep a little bit. So I get up in the morning about 9 and see the voicemail. I'm like, oh boy. So our team's already on it. And then I got on site and a couple things, the customer was like, because I went on site because they're close to me. And so I wanted to kind of smooth things over. But, one of the first things the customer says is, I called you at 2 a.m. And I was like, well, do you have an incident response plan? Yeah. Can you get it out? Yeah. I mean, I didn't do this, but this is what I was thinking. I'm like, is step one to call Evan's cell? Because that's not good if it is. Uh, and then getting on site and finding that, Homeland Security's on the phone, FBI's on the phone, insurance companies on the phone, the county sheriff has an investigator in the room, another incident responder in terms of, another company was there. It's like, what in the hell? I mean, talk about getting into an a shit show. I shouldn't swear, but that's what it was. It was just nuts.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that next week. But I want to wrap up. We've had 2 conversations in a row with Neil O'Farrell where we talked about, stress, burnout, mental health in our industry. We could talk, seriously, you could do a podcast just on that, right? The whole thing.
Yeah.
It's such a deep subject. It's so important for all of us in this industry to live healthier lives. And so I thought, what better way to kind of wrap this thing up than to bring in Richie. And Richie's a person that, just to give you a little bit of background, Richie was a listener of the podcast and then found us on the Daily Insanity Check-In. The Daily Insanity Check-In is, it's every day. We've been doing it since the initial lockdown back in March. And Richie's been a regular there. So that's how we first met. He's been a huge blessing to me. He's taught me a lot about the importance of slowing down, breathing, stretching. He actually leads the Daily Insanity Check-In every morning. We do 5 minutes maybe of stretching. And I've never done that before. In my 30 years of information security, I've never stopped, been aware of my own, just where I'm at, right? In terms of like breathe. Well, I just take that for granted. You mean actually stop and concentrate on my breathing? That's actually a healthy thing. Holy crap. So I thought, what a great way to finish up this kind of healthy thing with, talking to Richie about our stigma. I think there's a stigma in our industry against doing healthy stuff. Because I was just talking about bacon. I'll eat your 9 pounds of bacon right now, Brad. Bring that stuff over. But it's not healthy. Should I be bragging about that, or should I be more aware and be like, no, 9 pounds of bacon in one sitting is probably not smart. So anyway, I love Richie. I'm super happy that he's here to join us. He's just got an unusual sort of take on things, and our listeners can learn a few things. So Richie, again, welcome. Tell us about you. Tell us about your background a little bit so we can get to know you.
Sure. Thanks. I think, let's see. I think a lot of it has to do with a good self-assessment. Like I kind of mentioned before, I'm doing backstage theater stuff when I'm growing up, and I'm getting into realizing that there's sort of the people on stage in the limelight, and then there's usually at least twice as many people kind of off stage supporting those people in the limelight, whether it was the curtains or the light or the sound or the costume or the makeup. And after pursuing technical theater after high school, into the college rooms, ended up at a regional Shakespeare festival doing a lot of audio and electronics, I found that while everybody I worked with was really smart, there was this kind of clunky way they carried their bodies. Like some of the climbers who had to climb and hang lights really high were usually in pretty good shape. But some of the really talented audio engineers were usually really, really big guys. And nothing against them, but I realized that there's biological things that happen to our body that make us more or less effective at what we're doing. So I was able to look at my life at some point in time and say, okay, if I'm basically a biological computer, and now all these microphones and lights and things are taking digital internet signals, maybe I can look at the signals that I'm getting from my brain and compare them to things that are indicative behaviors of people who are the way I want to be, and then start doing those things those behaviors are doing. I had a real heavy stigma personally against yoga when I first learned about it. I was like, I don't understand. It just looks like people are doing a dance to no music. It seems like somebody's just saying, you do this, you do that. And Eventually, I learned that to me, yoga just means breathing. The word itself comes from the yolk of an egg, or to yoke something onto like perhaps a horse or a wagon or a cart. So that idea would be you're sort of yoking your mind to your body and your body to your mind to keep it together. Because if you're running 100 miles an hour and you're like stubbed your toe, you might not notice. But if you're walking nice and slow and you stub your toe, you can stop and wait a minute. I don't want to fall over. I don't want to trip. I want to like stay balanced in my own body. So for the past couple years, I've been doing a lot of Tai Chi and Qigong coaching, which is subtle breath energy stuff. Originally, I did it because to be a yoga teacher, you had to pay absorbent amounts of money to people and do really strange and crazy things. But eventually, I found myself in a circumstance where the limitations of stretching were not really as solid. I realized that I was living a life at that time as an apprentice electrician where not everybody was paying attention to safety protocol. And people were like, kind of like, all right, I stretched, let's go. And I look at them being like, whoa, if we're going to carry stuff up and downstairs all the day with the contractors, we got to like do real stretches and like make sure our body's really ready. Otherwise, at the end of this 8-hour shift, we're going to be beat down to poor heck and it's going to be really difficult to climb back up. So I do what I can to connect with individuals on a one-to-one level most of the time through the internet because I was raised as one of those kind of kids. And look at how to calm the body down. Look at how to step into the world where you're a little more centered, a little more focused, a little more in your lane. Any of this make sense?
No,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
to me, it does. Honestly, I've worked, like I said, 30 years in this industry, and I can't recall ever taking time to stretch.
That's crazy.
I sit in a damn chair all day, pretty much. There's the stand-up desk thing that I do once in a while, but in general, I'm stationary.
I I
Brain's
started
doing all kinds of stuff.
I started to go like get antsy, right? Like I have to get up and move. I can't. And I mean, I sit all day too, but I make it an effort to get up and move. I can't. I just feel so off if I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I get up and move quite a bit, either because I also have ADHD, so it's squirrel stuff. Oh, what's that sound? Or
Uh,
geez, I smell cookies. I'm gonna go get a ghee or whatever. But it's the conscious thing to stop and stretch shoulders or stretch out my neck. I'll
Mm.
do it if I feel the tightness, but I don't do it as a preventative measure very often.
hmm. Yeah, I mean, I go and try to do a walk, even if it's just a half mile, just to get away from the screen. And yeah, I don't know, just come back feeling so much better.
Yeah. Well, so Richie, you grew up around computers, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. My family moved a lot when I was growing up, but at one point in time, my parents got involved with like help desk stuff and like telephone
Hmm.
operator. And this was much more when the telephones were more like big panels, not quite the full patch pay, but still looking at analog technology. And when the help desk and IT were kind of snowballed into one. And I gotta be kind of privy to as growing up, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, hearing, all right, so these are computers that are becoming more or less dangerous. These were files that are stolen. Like you could steal a file? How does that work? And I learned about trust and authenticated data and unauthenticated data. So when I was coming up, I remembered hearing about my peers who were interested in like ethical hacking as an idea or kind of teaching themselves a la script kiddie styles. And I saw that there was an old guard that's already well established. So it's a matter of discovering what new terms, like things through SANS and different kind of accreditations, so that everybody has a common language. And kind of to touch on a point before, I don't necessarily think Bankit is bad by any means. I think what you're talking about is a self-assessment that you don't have any other thing that you're interested or excited about that size of portion for right now. And so it's a matter of drawing corollaries. Maybe 9 pounds of bacon is equal to like a motorcycle ride across 5 states. And so you can hold both those in your brain as motivating factors so that you can continue to move your energy forward in that way. But my brain's always kind of switching between red team, blue team, red team, blue team. But I was raised very clearly. The objective is to be as wide as possible, be as good as possible, help as many people as you humanly can. That's the objective, because if you're just taking from people, you're contributing to the lack and you're contributing to the dissonance rather than the resonance.
Yeah, I like that. Well, and you and I have had, numerous conversations, over the last 6 months, in the daily insanity check-ins. And I should remind listeners that the daily insanity check-in is open to anybody. It's not a closed group. It's not, an exclusive thing. It's for anybody. The only rules are there's only two rules: be yourself and be respectful. Otherwise, I mean, we've heard all kinds of things about people struggling with certain areas of life. Sometimes it's just a jovial discussion about funny things. People like to laugh at me, which is cool. Um, but, through the daily insanity check in, you lead us in these stretches. Others, like the Minnesota County Computer Consortium, actually contracted you to come and do a couple of sessions for all the counties in the state.
Working on a couple more proposals for them specifically. So trying to
Yeah.
find ways to get that information communicated, because once you share a vocabulary, you can do a lot more things rather than when people kind of have to learn each other's language. So to me, the daily insanity and the whole unsecurity focus has been a really big blessing to contextualize things. Because sometimes there's a
Mm-hmm.
frustration. How come other people don't already know this? But if I look at somebody who's walking around kind of tense, like, yeah, they're on a walk around the block, maybe with their dog or something. But it's not usually appropriate for me to go, hey, relax your shoulders, like across the street. As much as I want to, and I really hope that they have a good day, I got to remember to like keep myself in a good, relaxed space. So when people look at me, they're like, hey, that guy's calm. Maybe I can be calmer.
It is 2020 though. I mean, I'm thinking about doing that on the dog walk today. Hey, your shoulders, you look too tense. Breathe. I want to do that. I think that'd be funny. I should record it. I wonder what would happen to me. Well, I live in Waconia, Minnesota, which is a nice small hometown. I don't think I'll get shot or anything. I should try it.
Especially with the big beard and
Yeah, in
so
my
approachable.
little
Yeah,
my little dog.
your
I look
one
fu-
and a half pound dog.
Yeah, I look funny when I go give a walk. 240 pounds, big beard. Yeah, and I got this little thing. I think I've had excrements. Way more than that dog. Uh, yeah. All right. So let's. In your opinion, so Richie, you've been around. You certainly grew up around
Hmm.
tech and security stuff, right? You understand, I think, like many of us who have been around for a while, that tech and security really can't be separated. That security is really in all your buckets, right? It's not just in this, it's across all it's a life skill, honestly.
It's having a bucket that has no holes in it.
Yeah, right. But so knowing what and looking at us, from the inside and, having that unique perspective of also the outside, is there a stigma in our industry about or against healthy stuff, in your opinion?
I think yes and yes. So there's two different forms of yes for that. I think one of them is just the stigma being connected to the modern Western world, meaning America after the year 2018, 2015, 2005, 1994, like, I don't know, 1980. I don't know. It's never really been common or popular to be healthy or positive in that way. Specifically, I think because marketers found that if you put a bee on a box of wheat O's with sugar in it, it's going to sell more than if you try to tell somebody how nutritious a strawberry is. So unhealthy things kind of became in fashion for a while, but I think specifically for the more focused, yes, there's an accidental stigma from security people. I think if you're talking to somebody, even if they're just like a security guard at a museum, or even they're just somebody who's kind of walking their rounds, checking to make sure, 11 o'clock, all is well. If they believe in their mind that caffeine is something that's going to help them, they're going to reach out for a bunch of caffeine while they're working. However, if that same maybe EMT security person sees that caffeine can potentially be seen as a neurotoxin sometimes, because sometimes it can reduce your ability to make good decisions because it prioritizes blood flow in your heart rather than your brain, that individual might see that that specific nootropic or that solution or adaptogen of caffeine could be a positive or a negative thing. So usually when people learn about like standing desks, or they learn that they can do a couple stretches, maybe squat thrusts or burpees, different kind of exercises that just engage their body, they learn that working is a lot easier. But I know a lot of people who just kind of went from playing video games all the time into working all the time, and their fun motivator kind of turned into a profit motivator. And if you're seeking your own profit, getting sort of guidance from other people isn't always the best thing to do. So, I mean, what would you say is either of yours reaction if maybe a year or two ago somebody had said, "Hey, you need to, try some yoga or Tai Chi would really benefit you"? Do you think you would have been more open or closed to that based on your self-assessment at that time?
I've always been open to that type of thing. So I think similar, I mentioned it last week, I came up through theater kind of accidentally in high school where I needed an extra class and I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds easy. And then kind of fell in love with both sides, the set building, and I did lighting and running the boards and all that stuff. So, um, and, accidentally through that the teacher was very much into the breathing and in those things. So yeah, I've always been, I feel like, pretty open to that.
Nice.
In your opinion, Brad, do you think in our industry though, outside of you and
Overall,
yeah,
I would say so. There's a very much a mindset of like, I don't want to say like manliness or, whatever, but everybody's like, well, I can do whatever. Or not everybody, I don't want to generalize, but there seems to be an overwhelming feeling of like, oh, I can't think of the right word, but kind of almost like that, a lot of that superhero mentality.
bravado.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I think there's a lot of that. So people don't always want to reach out and ask for help. And hey, I can do whatever. I have worked, whatever. And
Yeah.
Martyrdom kind of stuff.
yes, that's it.
Well, and our job is to protect people, right? Protect information or protect companies, right? That's what we do. And so I wonder if there's a correlation between what we do and like police officers. Their job is supposed to be, protect. And I know that that's a touchy subject for, many people today, but that's their job, is to protect. And so you focus so much on that. And, part of protection is, yeah, you put on a face that, I'm tough. I got this. I'll
Yep.
pick you. I'll do what I can. But then you look at lifestyle and it's like, I could probably live a much healthier lifestyle. But then I think we egg each other on, it seems sometimes too. Like, if you go to a conference, you go to a security conference, right? There's a lot of drinking, a lot of partying that goes on. And it's like, I quit drinking because, other reasons, but, I think, I don't know. It does kind of seem like there's a stigma. Police officers have stigmas against getting help for mental health, right? Because it'll be held against them and it goes on their record and, it shows weakness. And if you're a protector, who wants to show weakness?
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of take some of that wind and see if I can zoom out a little bit, because I think the reason that
Yeah.
it is weakness to find help is because we don't have a realistic assessment across the board. Like, we're not speaking the same language. If we had a way to objectively agree that everybody in this area, this arena, this region would say, how do you feel, scale 1 to 10? Include physical, mental, and emotional in your response. Then people could begin to plot a trend and notice, hey, you seem to be having sort of this monthly dip of depression, or you're on the high part. We notice every 2 weeks you have just a really big boost of optimism and good energy, so keep riding that. And further to your point, there's a corollary between security individuals and the protection aspect. But to me, information security, IT people, cybersecurity, to zoom out as far as those words will take me, you got not only digital police officers, but you got digital firefighters and you got digital EMTs. So now you're not only protecting, but you're providing and you're presiding. So that means that a good protector, all they have to do is have a protector they trust so that somebody else can go on watch and you can go to sleep. If you're the only person by the campfire, the rest of your clique is going to know, hey, don't disturb the protector during the day. They got to sleep. They got to kind of do their thing. But if you're going to put stuff out, you got to have like a volunteer fire brigade. You got to have some people who are going to kind of watch it in the good times so that you can kind of get your R&R relax. And then to the last point, sometimes you want the ambulance driver to have the 2 a.m. phone call. It's not always best to have the brain surgeon have the 2 a.m. phone call.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where I fit in that. I don't know if I'd like to do brain surgery. That'd be cool, but that's a whole nother story. All right. So it sounds like it's unanimous, at least amongst us three, that there is a stigma against healthy stuff in the information security industry. Does that agree?
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily a conscious decision either. It's just kind of what happened, however it is.
Sort of our culture.
Yeah.
So, what are some ideas? Richie, you're in the wellness space. I've really learned to appreciate your take just on holistic wellness too, right? Holistic's another word that's kind of been stolen, but holistic means just, you know, you mentioned mental, physical, and spiritual health, right? That's a holistic view of
Mhm.
wellness, I think. Um, what are some ideas? What are some things that we can do? Some tips, some tricks, some things that a listener can go, yeah, I can do that, and I can do that today, and I can make that a habit for me.
Nice, for sure. I think I'll finesse the term a little bit so we're coming from a common definition, because sometimes the word spirituality has some woo-woo stuff, and then sometimes people don't really want to talk about their feels or their emotions. So I'm going to square it all the way down and say that it's only physical health. Your physical
Okay.
health, meaning your gut health, also determines your heart health. Kind of had that eat too much Taco Bell, kind of don't feel good, versus had some home cooking, feel great. So you got your heart,
Hmm.
you got your emotional state is built on having the good choices, meaning eating good food and thinking good thoughts. And then that mental, spiritual state, I'm going to default that just for this conversation briefly into the neurochemicals that are there. Do you have a lot of serotonin, a lot of dopamine, a lot of acetylcholine, a lot of dimethyltryptamine? Like, how is your neural soup going? So the first
Hmm.
one, if anybody wanted to make their day or make their experience different, is to take a second and just breathe 3 times. The reason I choose three is because it's an easy number we can get to. Some Aboriginal tribes don't count much higher than three because they don't see a purpose. But most of us are energetically moving hand to mouth. We're doing a bunch of energy and we're doing things, and as soon as we like slow down and breathe, just all of a sudden your body has to be like, whoa, wait, I'm focused enough RAM, enough CPU resources internally to my lungs that maybe I'm not going to be able to type or drive or do these things. And to make that a habit into a choice, into something that you're like, cool, I'm more present. That's what presence meditation and awareness meditation will bring somebody into. But the traditions that
Okay.
I've learned, meditation isn't an eyes closed thing. Like everybody can take a meditation right here. Even if you're driving, you can do anything at all and just gently wiggle your toes and maybe gently rock your head back and forth a little bit just so that if there's anything on your head or around your head, you remember that it's your choice to have this stuff on. Because sometimes we think that we're in a paralyzed sleep state moving through life, kind of on autopilot. So breathing is a good one. Water's another second. But there's a lot of
Okay.
stigma against like why would breathing or breath work be so important? I really appreciated the previous episodes that went into really esoteric and specific breathing. Like real talk, if you breathe like in through one nostril and out through the other nostril for like 3 minutes, your brain is going to change from NTFS to FAT 32. Like the whole thing's just going to shift. But not a lot of people are willing to try that experiment to be like, wait, I'm going to breathe in and hold for a moment and then breathe out and then notice that the train tracks in my brain all of a sudden got cleared. The debris that was there, I realized that in an hour, in a week, in a year, that isn't going to matter, but this choice is going to matter. So a lot of it's contextualizing. And again, self assessment. I'm beginning to think as you're going, like, if there's a self assessment for the body, you have to see how your nervous system is, how your heart rate is, how your tendons are, how your muscles are. And if any of those are less than desirable, just give a little attention there. You don't got to like stop everything else and put all of your focus on decoding things because then all the other stuff going on isn't really going to be important. So, another important part is to have at least one person. I like the term accountability buddy, but accountability buddy would be somebody who you go to because you know that they help you stay accountable to yourself. Now, that doesn't even have to be a person, and it doesn't even have to be somebody that you really see. It can just be taking a second to look at a picture of someone or something, or remember that postcard time you went somewhere or did that thing. Or if you're blessed to have a little critter around, maybe celebrate that animal just because, hey, it's an animal, it's doing its own thing. And that'll give you that step away from the wheel. You're at Starship Enterprise and you're on the bridge all the time. Like you pitched a cot on the bridge and like you sleep on the bridge and like you're always by this chain. It's like, man, if you're the captain of the Enterprise, walk away. Try
Right.
some other stuff, you know? Does any of this kind of point in that direction?
Yeah. So breathe. And I like, because, it just seems like there's so many things in life we just take for granted.
You know,
You don't even think about it,
it's
and
funny.
so, and I
Oh,
like, well, no, you go ahead, Brad.
oh no, I was just gonna say it's funny because last year one of the things, the exercises Renee had us do as a leadership team is she brought in rocks, literal like rocks, and had everybody write a word. And how are you gonna get through Q4? What's your word to get through Q4? And shocking. This will surprise you. I mean, Drew's was fight, right? To like really push it, but I wrote breathe, right? Remember to take that
Yeah.
step back and just okay,
Right.
so kind of
Well, I
fun.
love that tip too, because it's a thing that we can all take. Anybody can do that, right? In
Mm-hmm.
case you didn't know, you're breathing right now, right? I mean, so it's like all we're it sounds like, and catch me if I'm wrong, Richie, but it's be conscious. Take take the mindfulness piece, that Neil O'Farrell was talking about too last week. Like, just take, think about the breathing, right?
Absolutely. And it could even be seen as like a dent the autopilot
Yeah.
because we're in
Yeah.
hyper normal state and we've normalized our response. So you don't got to like totally reset your track. But when you take a second and like zoom out and breathe, maybe you'll like put the scalpel down for a second, put the stuff down and be like, am I done? Is it good?
One of the things that I really like doing during the day, and it takes literally 45 seconds, is breathe in for 5, hold for 5, and out for 5. You just do it like you said 3 times, four
Mhm.
times, a
Five is a
minute.
bigger number. I
But
definitely dig that process, and I'm glad that you have that built in as behavior. Are there any other things that you do? Like some people look 20 feet away, like they'll
oh,
engage their eyes with something at a distance, so their awareness can kind of change. But how
yeah,
did you originally learn that 5 by 5?
uh, I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah, well, it
uh,
seems to serve you well.
yeah, oh, for sure. And now, right? I'm lucky. My office here looks out over our backyard, which overlooks just a little lake and some woods. And yeah, I'll watch there. And we had osprey and hawks flying around over the summer, and just kind of taking that time to just be like, wow, that's just resets you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You're like investing time in your own experience. And
Yep.
kind of a weird little biohack, real quick. If you're kind of stuck, go see some organic green. Because there's a lot of jokes about computer stuff being green and it's sort of the green technology, but the human eye can see more hues of green than any other color. So when you're looking at natural organic green like trees or grass, your eyes are doing like a reticulating unpack and they're decompressing because it's getting new types of green. Originally, I think it has to do with predator or prey. Like, is that green from something that can kill me or is this from a tree? But most of the time, people see it as like forest or nature therapy.
That's cool, man. Every time I talk to you, Richie, I learn something new. That's good. Well, and I love, okay, so, and I'm trying to summarize too. So breathe, be mindful, mindfulness, learn mindfulness. And I think if you're like me, initially at the beginning, it's going to feel really awkward because like everything you start that's new feels a little awkward, right? It's getting through maybe that, but maybe it doesn't feel awkward. Either way, uh, and I love the fact that you said water. That's one of the things that I'm going to be focusing on this week. Actually, is trying to drink more water. Yeah, I don't like water.
I had to get a cup with a straw because it kept getting in my mustache, and when I talk, it would spray. And I was like, that's not cool.
Mm.
No, I don't like water, man. It's just, yeah, there's no flavor. It's like
So
blah.
what
But I
helped
got to
me
learn to.
I was gonna say what helped me transition was those, and off of soda. I couldn't. I almost never drink soda anymore. Was the flavored seltzer waters, just the bubblies or whatever, and that got me that carbonation that I liked and had a little bit of flavor. And then now I'll have those as a treat. But yeah, lots of water.
Yeah, and I think I'll use a lemon.
Nice, for
I
sure.
think I
Lemon.
learned that from you too, Richie.
lemons and citrus like limes and oranges help stabilize your body's alkalinity. So it kind of like looks at the swimming pool of your body and makes sure that you're ready for, active use rather than ready for just kind of sitting and not being touched for a while. And I know that the conversation from the carbonated drinks, the Mio drops are a good way, or the different kind of flavored drops just to add something to it. To me, that's like a half step into trace minerals, and you can get different vitamins and things to add to your water. So one of my favorites is called Concentrace, and it's all the trace minerals from the Salt Lake in Utah. And what they did is they took some of the Salt Lake and they distilled out, and there's almost all the minerals the human body needs naturally occurring in that lake. So you put a drop or two of that in your water and you drink it, and it's a little saltish-ish, but it also has iodine and copper and all the things in correct human amounts.
Cool. Now, I like the idea of accountability buddy. That's awesome. It's a great word. For me, I have a human one and a canine one. My wife is just amazing. She's my best friend. She certainly keeps me accountable. But then my dogs, I leave my office door open when I'm working from home, and they're always interested in like, what the hell's going on? And then like one of them won't take like no for an answer. So next thing I know, she's up on my lap. Like, you got to give me some attention, or like I'm gonna chew the coffee table. And so it forces me to stop, what I'm doing. At first, I'm really pissed off. I'm kind of pissed off about it. I'm like, seriously. And then it's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So
Funny.
Yeah, get a dog or a cat.
My desk is kind of in the middle of the room. It's just a standing desk, and my dogs will come in and do a lap around and walk out. I don't know why, but it just cracks me up every time they do it. It's like, hey, awesome. You want pet? No, okay, bye.
But it broke the monotony, right?
Yeah.
They might just be walking by making sure you don't need a pet or anything. Like, you doing okay? Yeah, you're still working? Okay, well, you'll be out the room in a minute. No worries. We'll see you when you get here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's cool. So, and I think, in our industry, to break the stigma, it's, more honest talk, right, about these things, sharing, stories like Richie's, and you're a resource too, right? People can reach out to you. People can seek you out for help in these areas, right? Are you starting your own business, or what are you doing now with that?
I'm kind of in a weird little niche. I've reached out to the mental health hackers. I really am all about their mission. I like what they're doing. However, instead of like a wide sprocket, like not trying to show up at a convention and provide a container per se, because I think that's important because con life has all these things. But I specifically took my Tai Chi and yoga practicing, what is it? Tai Chi coaching and yoga practicing, there we go, English, into an open space. So in the last year or so, I've started a project called Rainbow Crystal, and that can be found at rainbowcrystal.org. I choose the name Rainbow Crystal because it sounds kind of like, wait a minute, what? But at the same time, it's not like the seventh dimension Pleiadian healer man, because I'm not trying to like summon up all that kind of whip. Just keeping it basic with the cream, because I think people have to decide what they want. So for you to say, hey, I go on a half-mile walk around my block every day and it helps me reduce my stress. Some people don't want to hear that. But after working alongside with somebody for a while, they'll be like, how are you always calm? And sometimes it's awkward to not be able to say, well, I just have a really good self-care ritual. Because people, what's a self-care ritual? What is self-care? Why would I need that? So specifically, I enjoy talking with people collectively. So I give free 15-minute consultations to anybody who wants to talk about wellness at all. If people are more dialed in saying, cool, I used to be a skier and now I'm doing mechanic work, so my body's kind of out of jack. Okay, we'll look at it. We'll look at the planes of your body. We'll look at your repeated activities. And then from there, we're going to kind of make a diagnosis to figure out how you can move forward. And if it becomes like seeking medical attention, that's something that's up to the person. But what's kind of hard to talk about is a lot of people are dealing with mental things that they could be seeking attention for. And it's that stigma about, I don't think it's bad enough. I don't think I'm depressed enough. I don't think this is anxious enough to go seek professional help. So it's just creating a container in my mind, and that's part of what Rainbow Crystal is a space where people can just say how they're feeling and share what they want so that it can be dialed in to see, yeah, so it sounds like you're extremely dehydrated. and you don't like the taste of water because you're so dehydrated. So just drink a gallon every day, you'll be fine. Like walk around with a 2 liter of water and just like nurse it till it's gone. Because after a couple of days of that, whoa, all of a sudden I had to urinate for like an hour. I didn't know what happened. Well, we just got some things in your body system finally unstuck. You know what I mean? We finally changed the oil for you. So I'm really excited about sharing that time with anybody. And I think that it's more and more important, especially as we get to more decentralized communities and more remote work. Focus is health. So if somebody says, yeah, I can do this, I can do that in an hour, sure. But if they're not focused, is it going to take them an hour or could it take them like 8 hours? And it only takes a couple minutes to have that check in. Hey, are you doing okay? Really, it's pacing each other's breath. When a manager is talking to a subordinate, they're saying, whoa, is this person in fight or flight? Are they like flipping burgers because their life depends on it? Or are they able to take a, we have this new coupon idea. What do you think of it? Oh, well, I don't really know why you're asking me. I'm just the guy who works the print shop. But I think that's a horrible idea because it uses twice as much ink as we're going to get on this. But thanks for asking. Like that kind of transparency, I think, is the new wave.
And I'm happy to hear that because I dig transparency, man. I cannot stand trying to read between the lines. It's like, just lay it out there. I mean, for people who know me, yeah, man, I'm messed up. I can't believe running two companies, but there's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of people that come together. There's a lot of really good people who make these things happen. And, I do want to better. I do want to focus more on my health, physical, mental, spiritual. And it's a journey. I mean, it's like you get there. It's not like, oh, I've arrived. I'm mentally fixed and, I'm never going to have another problem. It's like, no, you take the eye off the ball, man, and it's going back.
Yeah, it's a conscious
Right?
effort, I guess, to make sure that you do those things. Because it's so easy to just slip and I got to get this done and not move for 6 hours, right? It's making that, I think, conscious effort of I need to take a breath. I'm so stressed out right now over whatever it is. Step away, do that breathing, go take a walk, go pet the dog, but just being aware that that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and you took, 26 hours you worked on incident response this weekend, right? And so you can't run that hard, but I know you well enough to know that you are good at keeping things in check. That's actually one of the skills I admire a lot about you is how you keep things in balance.
Yeah,
So,
I took a couple afternoons off this week. I know I took the week of Thanksgiving off. I'm not going anywhere, staying here, but I'm turning off my email. If it's an emergency, people know how to get a hold of me with a phone call. Just you have to unplug because if you don't, you're not going to be effective.
Right. And to Richie's point, I think one of the things I picked up from what you were talking about, Richie, is it's different. Every person is personal, right? Brad's balance is different than my balance. And not one balance is better or worse than another balance. They're just your own balance, right?
Well, and what it takes to reset is going to be different. And we shouldn't be judging each other, right? Like if I do the breathing or I go for a walk, but Evan, you want to go and you just play with your dog for whatever, 10 minutes. Well, what works for you is what's important, not, well, that's not the right thing. You should be breathing better. Well, no, that doesn't work for you. Maybe playing with the dog is what gets you into that breathing.
I see sometimes maybe it's people pursuing their interests outside of work, realizing that work is there to support it. So a good friend of mine realized when they changed jobs that this job encouraged them every 2 or 3 hours to go and walk around. They had a little campus at the factory space, I think, and just like go outside, breathe, get some fresh air. And over months, this individual noticed that it was really affecting their positive mood. However, I have another good friend of mine who works in a, electrical contracting architecture. So they're up in a building a lot, but they went to school in the field. And they can be in the building and they walk around with their shoes off and they scrub their socks on the ground and they kind of have sort of a casual space. And they're able to work there for a couple weeks at a time before they go hiking out in the mountains in backpack camp almost religiously every month. And so it's less like each
Right.
day they need that self-care, but they got the big self-care units that happen with enough regularity that they're able to kind of hone in their patterns. So yeah, everybody's a little different, and I think the common ground right now is that we all know together we can be doing better. So let's head that direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. And I think one of the ways to fight the stigma too is, kind of just what we're doing, right? Let's just raise awareness. Everybody's got their thing. Let's support each other, especially nowadays, right? I mean, we talked about the election and how just, I don't know, man, how divided we are.
Yeah.
It's time to
Divisive.
start showing some love, start showing some compassion and, helping each other. All right. Well, great discussion. Thanks again, Richie. Real quick, we got just a couple news stories. I don't think we're going to spend too much time on them. I think the discussion was well worth not spending as much time on the news. The first one I've got is from the Register, and the title is Trump's official campaign website vandalized by hackers who had enough of the president's fake news. I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
Sort of. I mean, if I get it, you don't hack stuff without permission. I mean, it's kind of childish, but yeah, I mean, who's to say nowadays, who's to say what's fake and what's not, man? I mean, who's your source? Where's the data?
Yeah.
Hell if I know. But I thought that was funny, sort of. I don't know, man.
Almost as funny as the story about a good password, because if you have a poor password, people will guess it.
Right, totally. Another one I have is this is from Security Affairs. The title is Maze Ransomware is going out of business.
At first, that surprised me. Then I thought about it. I'm like, oh, they've made millions of dollars. Why would you keep doing it? They're set for the rest of their lives.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they'll be. I mean, it's enterprise, right? Some of the Maze people will basically retire, I assume. They probably won't come to the U.S. to retire or any other country that has a extradition treaty with the U.S. But, in other parts of that group will go and just, I mean, it's not like, oh, I'm no longer a criminal, right?
Yeah.
They'll go on to other enterprise. So don't let your guard down. It's not
No,
anything really to celebrate.
it just was a little surprising, I think, because they are one of the more prominent groups out there. You don't see that.
Well, it's like 1878, right? They, what was it, March-ish or April? They said that they were going to stop attacking hospitals with their ransomware, right? Their RIAC. And then they go quiet for 6 months or so. And then, now they've reemerged. And a lot of discussion about, it's not like they took a vacation
Yeah,
for
what were they
6
doing?
months. I mean, criminals do criminal stuff. Unless they have like some kind of come to Jesus moment where, well, we saw the light, I'm a new creation kind of thing. They're crooks, man. So I don't know. Yeah. But that is a big, I mean, they were a big group, right? They had, in there, they talk about, Steel Giant, Hoa Sen Group, Southwire, Canon, LG Electronics, Xerox, City of Pensacola.
Yeah.
I think it helps frame the narrative that shows that the individuals who have negative motivations also have long tails. It's not like they're just on the short-term things. So,
Right. No, yeah, very good point. The last one, which, this one irritates the crap out of me, but this is from Graham Cluey's site, and the title is Finnish Therapy Clinic's CEO fired after despicable data breach and blackmail threats. There's a big story behind this, and the CEO is a guy named Villa, I believe. I don't know Finnish, but Villa Tapio. The therapy clinic was Vestamo, and like the most sensitive of sensitive data was taken, in this breach, meaning, therapy session notes. It's a mental health, you know, organization. And so there's certain things, right, that you share with your therapist that you never want to get out. They
Right.
cause you a
That's the
lot
whole
of
point of it.
damage.
It's that safe, trusted space.
Right. And, you know, allegedly, the CEO knew about the breach. Uh, I mean, there was multiple breaches actually. So, we didn't learn a lesson from the first one, and so another one happens, and we didn't learn a lesson, and another one happens, and this one really, made public. But the devastating data breach didn't make it, wasn't released to the public. They didn't let people know for 18 months.
Yeah. There's got to be, I mean, yeah, if there's not criminal charges, I don't know how else are you going to get people's attention at this point? That's just inexcusable.
Well, how is this any different than in terms of damage to a human being? Uh, I mean, it's almost like worse than assault. I mean, it just causes so much
I mean,
pain and trouble.
I mean, realistically, you're not typically going to see a therapist or talk to a therapist if everything's going well, right? You're already dealing with something, whatever that is, and then to have your trust completely just destroyed like that adds to whatever you're dealing with. I mean, we talk mental health. I can't imagine what those people are going through. How do you go talk to someone else when this just happened to you?
Right.
It's like strategically taking down the landscape of trust because we forgot to say that there's a difference between sensitive and secure. And some things need to be both sensitive and secure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the hacker who goes by the name ransom_man demanded a ransom of 450,000 euros. And through all of this, and you can't even give the CEO or Vastamo credit for eventually telling users, because it was the attackers who emailed the victims in an attempt to extort 200 euros of Bitcoin from each of them. So it's like the attacker did the notification for you. I mean, it's yeah, like you said, man, it's 100% inexcusable. And I don't know what's an appropriate punishment for somebody like this.
I mean, yeah.
Is it prison time? Is it, we need to work this out as a society, because
Right.
this needs to, the reason why there's two reasons why you punish people for crimes or bad things, right? One is because they deserve it, right? It's a punitive thing. Another one is to set a precedent and a deterrent for others, right? They take notice, like, oh crap, this CEO just did okay. Where are we at? You know what I mean? And so it's the second part that I mean, if this affected me personally, I don't know, string him up, you know. Uh, but how do we deter this behavior?
It'll make lines in the sand. There's going to be users who see that and don't think they're affected and think that it's like, okay, it's just as bad as me posting my inner secrets on Facebook and forgetting to make that friends only. Versus there's going to be other people who realize the depth, like the breadth and the depth of that offense. And then realizing, wait, there's not a UN computer nations of the world that we can say that there needs to be an agreement that like HTTPS is used for every single thing, even though that's basically as secure as saying that we want to make sure that every semi truck has uh, air compressor brakes without checking anything about it, any other part of that, and just saying, oh, it passed because it has air compressor brakes. Like there's so many steps involved that the precedent is raising, like the floor is raising. People have to realize, especially in this instance, that those authentic, sensitive, and secret conversations, secretive, or I'm not even sure how to frame it, but maybe that's the thing. It's a common dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah. You just, as a society, it's not permissible for us to let stuff like this ever happen. It's a lot of victims, and it's almost worse than assault. Assault a lot. There's a mental component to assault. Physically, I will heal, right? Most, unless you did permanent damage, but here it is so permanent, right? I mean, this is, I don't know. My heart goes out to the people who are affected, and hopefully the people who are responsible will get punished for it. All right. Well, great episode. 4 is just about complete. Thanks, guys. Next week, we're going to tackle some of that incident response stuff. So Brad, I'm going to go ahead and not let you, but you can write the notes for that one if you want to lead that discussion, because you did do 26 hours of IR work this weekend, and I think we both have some pretty interesting perspectives on IR.
I might see if Oscar's available. Jump on that one.
I was going to suggest that too, because man, he's got great insight.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Episode 105 will be great. So, tune in next week. Maybe we'll invite Oscar. Richie, seriously loved having you as a guest week. I learned, again, new stuff. I've talked to you so many times, and every time I'm like, all right, good stuff. I'm learning.
Gratitude. Thanks.
Keep at it.
I will definitely so. Please continue, both of you, at being awesome, because you definitely make it look easy.
Yeah. I don't know. Check my blood pressure. Brad's healthier than me, so yeah, but thank you. Any shout outs for anybody? Anybody comes to mind that you want to give a shout out to?
I'll be honest, I'll give a shout out to Tom and Chris and Kyle and Pinky. Those guys worked the overnight shift Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's hard work. Like, I did the day shift. That was relatively easy compared to completely upending your schedule. So shout out to those guys for their dedication. I think I got all.
And I'll second that. Team Ambush is our IR pen testing technical services team at FRSecure, and they're the unsung heroes. A lot of this work that they do. People don't realize how much work actually goes in for investigations, how much work goes into incident response. The one thing that people, well, why is it taking so long for you to get my stuff back up and running? They don't realize all the work, man. Oh my God, it's a ton of work. The last thing we want to do is bring you back up and running and then have you get attacked again by the same attack vector or another one that we weren't watching. So those guys work tirelessly. They do things right. They never cut corners. I'm so proud of that team.
Yeah.
They're amazing. And they're unsung heroes. I mean, like I said, you don't know the names of these people. And nobody usually gives much in terms of athletes, but they're amazing.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily want you to know. They don't care.
Right. They're in it for the right reasons. So going back to the Brian Krebs thing. Why do you do what you do? Richie, do you got any shout outs? You got a family member or anybody at the top of mind that you say, yo, what's up?
I think if I talk to any of my family members that way, they look at me like, did you really say, yo, what's up? Huh. Okay. But I got mad love for both my brothers, older and younger, who are in information fields of their own, and both my parents. I think that if I didn't have that squad of 4 people that guided me with their best intentions in mind, I wouldn't have had the potential to kind of end up where I'm at and continue to roll in that direction. I also wanted to throw some good waves out to the Daily Insanities. There's all-stars there. Get to see people like Lisa, Raul, Tony. Like, there's a whole bunch of individuals. Sometimes Ryan drops in. Like, it's crazy. I just really enjoy that regular holding space so that people can talk about things and decompress, because in case you haven't noticed, this year's kind of crazy, and I don't know if next year's, like, in the forecast is supposed to be any calmer. However, I know that entering next year, I've got a lot more people on my side.
Right. And I'll summarize that, what Richie just said. I'm pretty sure he just said, yo, what's up? just kidding. All right. Lastly, always grateful for our listeners. Send things to us by email if you want to know how to get into the Daily Insanity again or anything else. You want to get in touch with Richie, whatever. Email us at unsecurity@protonmail.com. If you're the social type, You can socialize with us on Twitter. I'm at Evan Francine. Brad's at Brad Nye. Our show's Twitter account is at UNSECURITY. Richie, how can listeners find you?
Online, I'm findable at rainbowcrystal.org. So one word, rainbowcrystal.org. At the front page, you'll see a picture of me, one like this. Say, yep, that's the right
Nice.
place. So also wanted to do shameless plug. If you haven't checked out this book, I highly recommend you check out this book so that we can create a common dialogue. Gratitude, gratitude.
Thank you, Richie. Appreciate it. Lastly, be sure to follow Security Studio. That's places that work. At Studio Security is that Twitter handle, and FRSecure is at FRSecure for more things about what we're doing. I think Security Studio just released version 3.10 of the platform, so that's kind of neat. And FRSecure is too busy, so don't bug them. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. That's it. All right, we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks.